Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
We keep making those calls, but we don't see them coming in droves. Yes, we see them coming when we have projects that will create conditions for them to engage there, but you cannot scale up. And that's why you have the problem of scale up. Every time we see these projects that work, but then when you have to scale up using the actual systems in the country, you have a problem. I was very interested to see the example that opened up this keynote section. And he mentioned clearly where he got his sources of funding from. If those funds have been got from normal Ugandan banks at normal commercial rates, etc., it would have proven the point that that really works within the system. But if we buffer that with either donor-granted funds or subsidized funds, and it works, translating that into the normal system then becomes a problem. So we have to be conscious of this. The next issue that I want to deal with, and not in any particular order, is the concept of a food deficit in Africa and the need to disaggregate that food deficit. It is true that Africa as a whole has a food deficit, and therefore our 36 billion annually that we import food is a potential market for our farmers. So why shouldn't they access that? But when you begin to disaggregate that, you realize that much of that 36 billion is for the North African countries. And when you come down to the sub-Saharan African countries, most of them are at the point of self-sufficiency, uncharacteristic of what we often hear, depending on good rains or bad rains. And then you have the problem of, okay, if that is the case, except for some 4 major countries, Angola, Nigeria, and Somalia, what do we do about this? I see that as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the sub-Saharan African countries to target the North African countries. But the problem is their diet is different. It's a Mediterranean diet. And they specialize in producing the wheat, for which we don't have comparative advantage, except say in South Africa and a few places. Ethiopia, but they have a deficit themselves. So we need to look at the other areas, which is the meats, that we can meet this. And that's where I feel the agribusiness in Sub-Saharan Africa could really gear up. But we meet another major problem which we must solve, which is our protein deficiency. Everybody knows we've more or less achieved MDG 1, but we're still behind on MDG 2, which is a protein deficit. To do this, we must have legumes. You cannot have sufficient protein if you don't have legumes, because the plants themselves are the first source of protein. And then it's very inefficient when you put that into animals to get meat for people. And therefore, you have to be very efficient in the production of legumes. The production of legumes alone in Africa, the yields are very low. And we need to improve that to be able to go into that sector. The final thing I'll say is on building human capacity for both for technology and farmer institutional management, because it relates to the capacity to apply technology and also the capacity to manage farmer organizations and institutions in order to be able to add up to that pyramid to make productivity itself more, for us to be able to be more competitive. And in technology, we've done a lot in technology, so I don't want to mention too much about that. What we haven't looked at is farmer institutional capacity building, farmers' institutions themselves. And for the most part, we've not put too much emphasis on this. For agribusiness to work well, we must put more emphasis on developing farmers' institutions for their own sake, not because an NGO project wants to do something, not because the government particularly wants to set up a cooperative, but because farmers themselves need to organize their own institutions so they can determine what it is that they want to sell, and also how they share the profits from that in their association. The base and bottom line is that agriculture is a business, and before we can talk of shared capital and all of those things, we must have productivity that gives us the returns to investment in the capital we used in the first place. The rest will come on board. And also, if we're talking about growing small-scale commercial farmers to medium-scale farmers and large-scale farmers, this is a mix. And this is an area which I believe in Africa, we need to pay very careful attention. And that's why I mentioned the issue of land rights. You have programs like Pro Savannah, Gambao in Zambia, where you have these big, what do you call it, corporate conglomerates taking thousands of hectares, and in essence, they create this situation where it's either the small scale farmer or the big commercial scale farmers. It doesn't need to be like that. There can be a mix if you manage those things properly, because we know that outgrower systems work if there's equity and fairness in the outgrower system. So we need to pay attention to the increasing use of land by these conglomerates to make sure that the conditions exist locally for farmers to be an active part and to get a fair shake in the system. I want to stop here and come to the other issue.
The discussion went on.
I think so far with the 5 speakers, we have touched almost on all the discussion questions that have been raised here. But Abu, I will challenge you on the issue of protein, that while we are very poor as a continent, it becomes very hard for us to increase our protein intake. It doesn't matter how much we grow, but as countries become richer, the protein intake increases. And you have now an issue of saying, how do we help the poorest people who are actually stuck in the agricultural sector, uplift their incomes, which I think in Edward's presentation, when he said when we increase productivity, farmers' incomes increase, and when farmers' incomes increase, then there is a spread effect. Beatrice, I have brought you last, but your country has been mentioned among the top flyers on the continent. Please use your 2 minutes to introduce yourself, but also make a contribution to the subject at hand. Is Beatrice online? Okay, I'm not seeing you, but when she comes online, please alert us. We have a number of discussion points, but I think there has been a long list of things we have discussed, but in my recent personal experience, the issue of logistics is a very big one. Because if you're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, how do we get the great products from West Africa to East Africa? How do we move our goods from Uganda to Nigeria, where you have a big market? For us in Uganda, we border Congo. We have the longest border with DR Congo. It's a $3 billion food market per annum, but we are not even among the top 10 importers into Congo. The 10 big importers into Congo are in Europe, they're the US, and they use the oceans. To move goods from Mombasa to Congo reminds me what used to happen in the olden days when Uganda Cranes was going to play against the mighty Cameroonians. They would fly to Rome and then from Rome they will come to West Africa. But at least we have sorted that out in air transport. But on sea, that you have to go to Asia with your goods destined for DR Congo. For Kinshasa, you go to Asia, and then from Asia you try to find other ships as you collect different goods, and then it takes you months just moving, crossing over to DRC. But of course, for our side, even the roads are very bad in DR Congo, so the best option is the sea, which at the moment has no alternative. So the issue of logistics is going to be very, very, very key for us as a continent and for this Africa Continental Free Trade Area to really work. So one of the issues here we have is what are the practical economic benefits? But I think from what has been explained so far, we have seen that we have a population of over 1 billion people on the continent. And so we can... Are we off? Okay. Beatrice is online. Please use your time and I don't know whether you've been listening, but your country has been cited as one of the few good examples here, but please use your 2 minutes to introduce yourself, but also help us to answer the question on how can Africa capitalize on its agribusiness sector as a sustainable human and economic solution.
Thank you, Edward. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's always good to speak among the last speakers because everything has been said. And just to take on the keynote speaker who opened this morning said, I think what is very critical here is that even us who are supposed to be delivering these development patterns, we also need to have a mindset. I think we have to agree, all of us here, that the debate, and I'm very proud of and thankful to the human capital and share value of all of you for selecting such an amazing panel. Yeah, I think for all of you who have been in this ecosystem, we would not have heard what we heard this morning 10 years ago. So congratulations, all of you and all of us, that really something is happening, but more needs to be done in terms of changing the mindset. My name is Beatrice Gakuba. I'm the Executive Director of Awan Africa, which is Women in Agribusiness Network. We have 300 agripreneur women and youth in 44 African countries, ready to do business and seize the opportunities offered by the Africa Free Trade Area. And our network is comprised of 40% of youth. Yeah, in this, and so this is what is the challenging part. The previous speaker has spelled it out very well and with very important issues, so I will not repeat that. But the human capacity, finance, access to finance and tech, all of the above skills are needed, and we all agreed on that. But at the center of the debate, we have to put the women there, because if we do not economically empower women, we will not grow the continent, we will not secure the food security, and we, as Dr. Abu Sakara said, it is linked to nutrition. So all of it together. So let's focus, and this is why we focus on women. When it comes to access to finance, we all know that the women are the less empowered. Yeah, our members, they are running good business, going concern, but they all lack capacity and access to financial literacy to navigate the financial world. They need knowledge. They need their skills to be upgraded in access to finance. I mean, access to trade finance, access to contract finance, just basic literacy, bookkeeping, recording. This is, when you talk about agribusiness, agriculture takes in rural area. And we have to agree that a lot needs to be done in improving and transforming the agriculture in the rural area. And what is needed to support that growth whether it's infrastructure, whether it's supply chain, everything, it needs political will. It needs a constant and permanent dialogue between the government and the private sector, because government cannot do it alone. And we have to commend most of our government on the continent that progress has been made, policies are there, but there is a disconnect between the implementers and the policymakers. So we still have a lot of work to be able to connect to that, to make sure that government is following what the organization and the private sector we are requiring from them, for the market, from education system. Somebody talked about the education system. We know, all of us here, and I think if Edward, you could ask all the panelists, how many of them have their children in agriculture college or have done a degree in university on agriculture or agri-economics? You'll be amazed. There'll be very few of us, because somebody said it, we still want our kids to be a civil servant and everything. So the mindset has also changed with us, and give examples. When it comes to access to finance, I want to say that even after COVID now, you know, many reports are showing us that the finances are ready. Yeah, finance is flowing. If only it can find reliable agribusiness investment and of sufficient supply. Yeah, 80% of the small scale farmers are women also. Yeah, so where is the challenge now? Yeah, and that is the challenge also. I mean, where it is that we are not, our small scale, very small and small scale farmers are not ready to access those finance. So we must prepare them, and preparation needs syndication of organization for collaboration, and most of all, the resources, because we need to catch up with the knowledge, to transfer that knowledge for them to be able to receive those finances. So one of the solutions and the change maker for that financial that is available now that our small scale farmers are not accessing is somebody, I think Josephine mentioned the supply chain, and that's really where we need to focus. Yeah, we need to aggregate our supply chain, that current levels of aggregation we know, and we have noticed that they are too low and very unreliable in nature to be able to attract the investment. And not only the investment, but also significant purchases. I can give an example, for instance, in fruit and veg, yeah, which we have a lot of our members involved in. I mean, if we get a lot of requests on our platform for significant purchasers who want to buy in bulk, but our small scale farmers and even medium farmers are not able to bulk package and follow, and comply with the standard and the requirements for even for the regional market. So when we talk about Africa free trade area, are we ready to trade? Because the space is there. 44 countries have deposited their instruments, but how are we going to prepare our small scale farmers to be part of the supply chain is going to be the change, the game changer. And I think the previous speakers and my colleague panelists have touched on that, yeah? The opportunity. No, I think, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah, I give you an extra minute,
because
please.
I will just answer. I want just to answer to that question that will also go, because the question that was sent to us are interlinked. So by answering, I'm answering to all the other questions, so you can go on with the other panelists after that. So we need to reconnect with the buyers. Yeah, with the buyers, with the smallholder and the international traders, right? And we need, I mean, when I say we need, it means all the organizations that are operating and working in promoting the small scale farmers and agribusiness. there's a great potential for us to create additional local collection center and rural trading center to link farmers to markets. I think the challenge people have been saying that we do not have those facilities. I think we're not here to only talk about rhetoric. You have to allow us to say that there are some solutions, that we can take into account for assisting and promoting the agribusiness to be part of the transformation and the contribution to the growth of our economies. So the food system, the international big companies, food companies we need to push, to continue lobbying and talking to them for them to restore the value chain and involve the small-scale farmers. And for that, we need government, the political will. We need our governments and the private sector to speak constantly and track the activities of those big food systems. Josephine, somebody talked about cacao. I'm in West Africa at the moment. That's where I'm speaking from. When you talk about cacao, you talk about coffee, you talk about cashew nuts, you talk about all those cash crops. They are all managed by multinational food companies. What is their link with the small-scale farmers there? Are they speaking to them? What is their engagement with them? I think this is what the things we need to answer. Thank you.
Let's take a few comments from the audience and then we close, because apparently the hotel is clearing our lunch away. So any quick feedback or questions on what has been discussed so far? No? Good. There's a hand there. Yeah, but as they prepare, I'm picking a long list. It seems is a shopping list of what Africa can do to capitalize on the opportunity. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Chankar Bernard. I work with Efficacy Methodology, which is an independent public policy think tank. I want to invite our panelists on the conversation of the link between climate change, value addition, and food wastage. Now, in 2015, Uganda also ratified the Climate Change Paris Agreement, and recently, COP26, we ratified a number of them. It's an attempt to reduce emissions. And in Africa, we have high food wastage, yeah? And yet, part of the reasons why we have high food wastage is because we do not do value addition. Where do we stand? Where does the ratification with the climate change agreements puts Africa with regards to industrializations and value addition of our products? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other? Rachel, the Zoom has disappeared. I think we are struggling with connection. There are a couple of questions and comments from the colleagues online, but I think we have lost connection here.
I think I'm online.
Yeah, please help us to read those comments. Those starting from a gentleman called Ruanga Charles. Since you're online, you can read those questions for us so we save time.
Yes, just 1 second. I have made here. Let me go to a big screen. Okay, let's go to the chat. I don't know where to start from, but the first ones I see, I'll go upwards. Gender-focused research has been challenged by trademark acts. A standalone discussion has had more impact addressing poverty and incomes in business. That is from a Joel.
Yeah, we have regained the connection. There's a comment here that the problem with agriculture is similar to the problem with education. Both focus on increasing output and less on the quality of output. Like any other business, agriculture and education, there is so much focus on profit. Many youth today are unemployed and turn to agriculture as their source of livelihood because of its nature of profitability. Shared value concept, on the other hand, advocates to profit with purpose. So the assumption is that the purpose of agriculture is to produce safe and healthy food, just as developing human intelligence is for education. The markets today are flooded with unsafe and unhealthy contaminated food. So this is basically continuing the conversation we had. Emmanuel Safari, I would like Dr. Isingoma to address the issue of identified by Josephine of ADB, of ADC, of capacity building around quality. Capacity building around quality. Edward, you need to answer that. Then Doreen, a number of people in the city are investing in balcony farming to leverage on subsistence production. Will this disrupt the agricultural sector, or is it a new way to encourage it? I don't know who wants to have a go at that, but I would also ask my question, is it actually as profitable and can help you as a family to actually pay your bills? So these are the few questions I could read, but as we prepare to wind up, I will give each of the panelists an opportunity to respond to any question, but also the list of what I have here. What I'm gathering here is that for us, yes, Africa can, but it has to address a number of issues. Inputs, infrastructure, markets like Edward, you've proposed, and there was a question from Beatrice, are we ready to trade? That was a good question. The issue of technology has come up. The issue of focus, the issue of skill set on HR, basically HR, the issue of land rights, the issue of transactional costs, trade barriers, many seminars, poverty as an issue. And Dr. Abu had previously talked about a hierarchy, because since this is a shopping list, the bigger question is what do we do first? In what order? So, Dr. Abu, since you're still there, I will start with you. You started the issue of hierarchy. I will start with you on this long list as we summarize, basically as you make your last remarks.
At the base of this is the cost of capital. When I say the cost of capital, I mean real cost of capital in countries. Our policymakers hype about single-digit inflation, but they never talk about single-digit interest rates. And when you have the two together, you can get the investments in the technology that will get the returns to investment, and therefore you get an uptake of the technology. You can get a reduction in operational costs of transaction so that you can have access to markets. It's a base, and we haven't seen that in Africa. There are very few countries in Africa which have real cost of financing available to farmers. And let's not confuse that with donor financing and boutique financing for projects, etc. Let's talk about the system that everybody is going to use, not the privileged few. The second issue I want to talk about is the integration of the African markets, because the trade policy and the regulatory policy still has not taken effect. AFTA is here, but then we have to make that a reality. And that means that we must integrate the trade across the regions. We must see big things that happen. A railway from East Africa to West Africa. We must use our inland water. Africa is not like other continents where you have most of the people living along the coast. Most of our people live in the interior. And the way to get to them is through the inland waters. There's Niger, the Volta Lake in Ghana, the Luanga in Mozambique, and Zambezi. When you go to the DRC Congo River, Limpopo River, if you go up these rivers, you meet the population. So instead of spending too much time on roads, let us use the waterways. The waterways was how Europe developed because it's the cheapest form of transport. Let's use the waterways for that interconnectivity. And when you use the waterways, surprisingly, you don't come across any policemen standing in the middle of the water wanting to collect bribes for the goods you're carrying. So that is a good thing because you can use the waterways and move across boundaries a lot easier. Now, the other issue I'd like to talk about in conclusion, which I mentioned, is the disaggregation of Africa's food deficit between North Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa and taking advantage of the protein deficiency. When I mentioned protein deficiency, I think it was mistakenly understood that we should put it into meat. The first thing you do about protein is to grow legumes. The reason legumes have received less attention than cereals is because the women usually take care of the legumes. So we haven't had the technology input and the system support for legumes to increase their yields per unit area. You get sometimes 300 kilograms, 600 kilograms per hectare. Yields in legumes are still very low, and we cannot sustain poultry and feed for animals if we don't increase legumes for us to have enough for family food and have the byproducts to feed animals. So that is a cornerstone of where we need to go. Now, why is it that we're having more food imports? Really, the food imports, the people eating those food imports are the growing urban communities in Africa. And the growing urban communities in Africa, if you do not provide them what they need, will readily get these imports from outside. So yes, the value addition needs to be there, but we must have the technical capacity to do that and meet our own domestic markets first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Boo. Beatrice, within 1 minute, we are being kicked out of here. 1 minute, Beatrice, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Edward. My closing remark is I insist that the private sector should take where the government has left it, yeah, and create short courses on promoting value chains and supply chains. And what is very important also is what Dr. Abu said, and I anchored that, the expensive cost of accessing finance on the continent is not only inhibiting the agribusiness sector, but also defranchising women who will not be able to grow in that sector because most of it is run by women. And if we don't do that, and we don't intentionally create that facility and that ecosystem, whatever we are saying, it will take us back 10 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Florence, your closing remarks, please.
Thank you, moderator. I really feel like we've been cheated. We had a lot to discuss, but anyway. I want to just make a comment on what you raised about the infrastructure, connecting Africa to enable free movement of goods and services. Typically, I think that is a bottleneck. Our member states must really invest head-on as a critical area for improving intra-Africa trade. We see vegetables coming from Netherlands. They are harvested in the morning. Tomorrow they're in a supermarket in Kampala, and we are consuming vegetables imported from Netherlands because of the air connectivity for that. So how will we maximize the potential of the intra-Africa market when we are not connected by air, by road, by water? So I would appeal to our member states to really work on that as a critical area.
Yeah, of course, you have reminded me, as in the region here, we have huge infrastructure plans, and we signed to the North Corridor, the South Corridor. We have not had the conversation because Kigali was supposed to host the conversation for that. So there are a number of issues that affect the implementation of the Africa Content of Free Trade Data, but I hear you. Josephine, your closing remarks, please.
Much. And sorry to keep you. I think I'll speak to climate change because it was really the area we didn't get a chance to touch. And our view is to really build the awareness and the capacity on the same, because not just locally or on the continent, there's so many unknowns. I'm currently going through a course, and really it's opening us up to see even the opportunities in the world where we can source support, how we can source support are not known to us. But the beauty of that course is that it is online, caused by the pandemic to start with, but it has pulled in private sector players, government players, many of our energy sector people are there, and the solutions and how we are to then embed this, for instance, in my case, in agribusiness capacity building, are becoming clearer. And we don't build capacities just for the sake of building capacities. At ADC, we are building capacity so that we can then link the parties that have been built to markets, to finance, and in this particular case, this knowledge is really the key to open to a better way that they can embed in their agricultural practices, not even just at farmer level, but even at SME level. So the main thing happening there right now, from where I see it, is still capacity development for us, but also for the farmers on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Josephine. Just to emphasize that one of the key 5 trends that are driving global agribusiness is sustainability, economic sustainability. Recently, people have been talking about avocado becoming a big trend, but in Europe, there is a group of empowered consumer who does not want to eat anything that has been flown in because of its impact on the environment. So sustainability must be taken seriously from the perspective of the environment and also on our people. Edward, you started us off, you challenged us, you tickled us with your numerous questions. How have those questions been answered? And then you also try to answer other questions.
Okay, thank you, Edward. I will not keep us longer because it's already been double the time. I think from my own thought, we've got to work together, all of us as stakeholders in the agribusiness space. We can't continue being disintegrated. 2, the only other key takeaway for me is value addition. And by value addition, I don't mean processing and cleaning and drying and manufacturing agribusiness products, but I mean systems, quality control. There's now, for example, in the vanilla business, it's no longer about vanilla, it's about traceability and rules around that. Where are you getting your vanilla? That determines the price you get. It's about, we can't talk about quality certifications when in Uganda, there's only one international accredited quality certification lab. We've got to go in and change these things. Again, markets. Let's not just talk about the product markets, let's also talk about things like the latest carbon credit sales and things. Some of our smallholder farmers have never heard of that, but they have trees in the gardens that could generate revenue. Climate change, it's got to be real. It's not just about KCCA will punish you if you throw a bottle out of the car window. It's got to be engraved in our culture that we worry about climate change and its effects and ESG issues. Human resources, I don't know how we convert human remains into human resources. That's a whole long story. Thank you, Edward. I think for me, we've dealt with many of the things, and I only think we can only get stronger and do better together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have actually closed on a very good note, which was one of the miracles, converting human remains into human capital. One man commanded bones. He commanded bones to get flesh and turned it into an army that won a battle. Yeah. So as that battle is poverty and human capital is crucial to this. With that, that's what we have had time for. We could have had the whole day, but that's what we were given, and unfortunately we have overshot. We really apologize for that. I want to invite our facilitators here to take over and guide what is next. Thank you.
Edward and your panelists, you have done a very, very good job for us. And as we clap, our dear physical audience, may we stand up and give a very good clap anyway, not for only this audience, not for only the panel that is just stepping off the stage, but also for the other 2 panels that have already left the stage and have done a very good job. Thank you so much. I know that we have been seated for such a long time. We apologize to the virtual audience. Sorry in any way if we had delayed you in any way. And right now, definitely we have to answer to the nature call because the bodies are starting to scream out. They need some attention from the output of the agribusiness, whatever that has been discussed on the platform. So our agenda for the next session, which is definitely warming our bodies, exciting our stomach, and also being able to be energized to come back and tap into the best part that we are all looking out to hearing how best we can have the funds to push the SMEs and the startups that we are saying, oh, we need a push, oh, we need to be visible, oh, we need to be recognized, we need to do something that is substantial for the country. Please don't miss it out. As we move out, you're going to take definitely as you move out from the main exit, you will take your left-hand side, and then you'll find the ushers right at the next door. You'll have your coupon that will give you the access to entertain the part of your body that is screaming out at the moment. And to our moderators, panelists, and the keynote speakers, we will have our lunch from the lake room so that we can have an extension of the discussion on how best we can concretize the next session for the afternoon and have the best out of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you. If I can have the tech team, honestly, to give us some music a little bit so that we can we're moving out, we have some shaking of the body, so that we can be a little bit warm for our next session, which is in the next room at the restaurant. Thank you so much. Our audience, we shall be back, the virtual audience, we shall be back in 45 minutes. Please take note, 45 minutes, we shall be back. Don't miss out on the next two sessions that are very mind-blowing. Thank you and have a great lunch.
Go-to website for exclusive content with in-depth stories, analysis, and detailed coverage. Sign up with these quick and easy steps. Visit www.monitor.co.ug. Sign up for free for a limited period of time with either Facebook or Google. Or you can enter your email address, password, followed by your phone number. Click Sign Up. You are now a registered user. Your privacy will be protected when you share information with us. This registration is part of our effort to understand our audiences and make better business decisions to serve you better. For any queries, please contact us on 0312 301 230 or email us at customercareug@ug.nationmedia.com. Monitor, powered by Nation. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Nobel.
Internet is not only important, but is part of us now. We use it in our studies, at work, home, and while going about our daily errands. However, an inconsistent internet connection is common and can be frustrating. But the good news is, we are here to the rescue. At Rock Telecom, we strive to promote integrity, dependability, innovation, customer service, and open-mindedness. Visit our website www.rocktelecom.co.ug for more information. Rock Telecom. Rock Telecom is licensed by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
So we pick travelers, our typical customers are people flying in and out of the country. So we pick those from the airport to wherever they're going and back. And we do this through a network of driver partners for whom we give regular business and improve livelihoods. They can book through WhatsApp, they can call us, they can email us. We just try to make it as simple and convenient, as seamless as possible for our customers.
What is creating shared value all about? CSV is short for Creating Shared Value. It is a powerful business management concept that can promote companies to think differently about their approach to social and environmental issues. It is a strategy for addressing society's challenges through profitable business models. It's all about policies and practices that enhance the competitiveness of companies while improving social and environmental conditions in the regions in which they operate. CSV is not CSR. Creating shared value goes beyond philanthropy or corporate social responsibility. Shared value is not about personal values.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair,